Mr. Joomratty, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Vijay. How are you?
Doing really well, thank you. So first up, there is this report that came out last week that Canada this year could see 50% less immigrants. What impact could that have?
Well, I think that's as a result of processing priorities. And there's all sorts of talk, there's nothing officially announced that it will be reduced. But everyone suspects because half the year is gone in processing essential services workers, and priorities have changed. And a lot of the processing overseas has been slowed down because of things that are outside the government of Canada control, like lockdowns in different countries. That has automatically caused the officers to work from home, and then that has definitely slowed down processing. But we are seeing applications being processed, especially the ones in Canada. The BCPNP office is slowly approving things. So to say that it will be 50%, I don't know, but I suspect it will be reduced. That means in 2021, hopefully they'll catch up because they have they have official targets to meet.
Right.
Yes.
And also, a lot of people are still inquiring about what happened with the sponsorship applications for parents and grandparents, because that program still has not been reinstated. Any word on that?
I don't know more than what you do, Vijay, but amongst immigration lawyers in Canada, we talk, we exchange views, and the Canadian Bar Association always makes representation to advocate for our clients, and then the public at large benefits. And through those conversations directly with the minister and minister's office, it seems there will be something, but there's nothing in writing, no commitment in writing, no official announcements. But I think if they do announce anything, I think it'll be in the third quarter. And then, but how it will look like, whether it'll be the same lottery, same fiasco like this, when was it? Beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I think it won't be the same program. It'll be slightly different. But I don't want to venture into guessing how it will look like, what the program will be, the details. But my advice is people should continue making the income because a lot of the sponsorship is based on family incomes and so forth. So, and then the bigger question is, how does it affect those sponsors who are on track to meet, based on previous or existing legislation, to meet the LICO, low income cutoff or minimum national income that is required to calculate the ability to sponsor, financial ability. There are a lot of families that have been affected because of COVID-19.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how the government accommodates all these people who've been paying taxes, waiting. You know how a lot of immigrant families pay taxes, work 2 jobs, 3 jobs just to make...
just to meet the requirement, yes.
To meet these requirements. So it'll be interesting and challenging from a lawyer's perspective. I can say it's interesting times. From those waiting to sponsor, from their perspective, it's going to be quite nervous times ahead.
We also got a question, I think, along the same lines. Someone's asking, how will COVID-19 layoffs affect filing for PR? Because requirements say that you need 1 year experience for PR, but layoffs mean you can't get that 1 year experience. Well,
under Canadian immigration legislation, there's always exemptions and there's always discretion under humanitarian and compassionate grounds. So with these extraordinary times, will the minister will there be allowances made for people who have, through no fault of their own, lost their jobs or their incomes have been reduced? That's also going to be a challenge. And I'm only guessing here based on my experience and how the department deals with situations of compassion and looking at humanitarian factors. I would suspect, I'm I'm quite optimistic that they will have to take into account the COVID-related layoffs. Of course, they are always talking about program integrity. I mentioned that last time. They are going to be very careful to see, to make sure that people don't take advantage, create COVID-19, fake COVID-19 situations when it wasn't there. So, like I said to you last time, document everything, keep everything handy, all communications you've had with your employer, and if your employer has put you on temporary layoff or confirmed that they can't, or especially if they've shut down, so all those documentary proof will come handy down the road. But I don't think it's fair to penalize people who are on track to be eligible to apply for PR because of things that were outside their control. On the other hand, you know already, or your listeners know, that BCPNP has been approving a lot of Canada Experience class applications. So those who had made the requirement, had already met the requirements. So looks like a lot of people who are here in Canada who are applying or who will apply will have to deal with these discretionary requests, exemptions or whatever you want to call it, but requests for discretionary relief in these situations.
Also, there is a question from one of our listeners. They say that their BCNPN was approved and they applied for BCPNP. Okay, sorry, That's the reason why we bring experts like you, to clarify such mistakes. BCPNP was approved, applied for Federal Express entry, biometrics done 5 months ago, and since then they've received no information. Is this the norm? Is this the trend that you're seeing, that people are waiting and waiting and waiting?
Yes, it is. It is actually. Yeah, it's nothing nefarious about it. It's at the moment this is considered normal. Things that were taking 3 months are taking 6-7 months. Things that were taking 8 months are taking longer. So basically, you will, anywhere you read on IRCC's website, there's always this magic number, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days. So it looks like everything is being pushed by 90 days, right? Yeah. Questions like, okay, I sponsored my spouse, for instance, from Canada and applied for the work permit. In Canada you can sponsor, and then there's a request for a work permit for the spouse who is in Canada. So what happens, usually it used to take 3-4 weeks. It became, under normal circumstances, 4 or 5 months. So there is going to be a bit of a wait as well for that. I would say add 60 to 90 days to anything you've read that it takes, the processing time that you've read before, easily add 60 to 90 days.
Because I think people tend to get a little worried when it goes beyond their time and they start thinking, was there something wrong with my paperwork? But right now, the delay is just a part of this process because of COVID.
Exactly. In the last 60 days, that's mostly what I've been doing, because people have been calling CIC, and it's a long wait. So I've been I've been doing my bit of community service, and it's a legitimate concern. Like someone who is stranded overseas, whose permanent residence has been approved, and it has an expiry date of, let's say, May 5th or June 1st. What happens to them? Those, I think I mentioned that last time, there is something on IRCC's website called web forms. This is how you communicate if you have a file number. You go to the web form. If anyone doesn't know, they can email us and we can give them that, or you can put it on your website. And then you have to, that applicant, that permanent resident who has been approved, or anyone who has a file number and a file in process at the embassy or a visa office in Canada or outside, they should have informed that office already, because the office knows there's an expiry date to your document. So you have, we cannot assume that the embassy will say, okay, we know that there is this situation in your country and all that. It's up to each applicant to inform the visa office, the immigration office, that here's the situation. I have received my approval, and as you know, it expires on such and such date. that date has come and gone or is soon, but I can't travel because there is this lockdown in my country or there is flight restriction in my country. Flights are not going to Canada. There's no way. So explain everything, you know. You don't have to write a book, but not even an essay, but at least in good few paragraphs. At least it's in the record. You know, government and bureaucrats, they like documents, and rightly so. You know, so explain everything will be automatically put over by 90 days. Yesterday there was an announcement for biometrics exemption for some people.
Right.
Yeah, and then you mentioned in your introduction about families can come. So this is it every day. You know, when I talk, I have to have the website open in front of me.
Because things are changing so rapidly.
No, while I'm talking to you, they might make another announcement.
Yeah. Mr. Joomratty, another question that we have from one of our listeners. They say that they recently graduated as an LPN nurse. They came on a study permit, became a nurse, and did not get post-graduation work permit yet, but they have an LMIA already, which is approved. Can they take that LMIA to the border to get the work permit, or else, if applied online, can the listener work while the permit is in process?
The question one, they cannot go to the border at the moment. And secondly, if they apply for a work permit, they're not allowed to work yet.
So they have to wait. Okay.
They have to wait. There's a difference between, you know, if someone applies for a post-graduation work permit, then they can start working full-time right away. But that exemption doesn't apply to people who have applied for work permit on an LMIA.
Another question, I think this is a bit technical, and it says, my query is regarding expiration of IM1 visa. What is IM1 visa, first up?
IM1 is the confirmation of, is the one-time visa issued to a permanent resident applicant to come to Canada for landing purposes.
Okay.
So it's similar to what I said earlier.
Right.
Someone's permanent residence has been approved, and if it's about to expire or has expired, they should have, or they should right away if they haven't, contact their visa office, immigration office, and explain. Put it in writing why they could not travel. Don't be proactive. Don't just assume that, well, the embassy knows what happened in my country. No.
Right. What sort of trends in immigration do you think we'll get to see because of COVID-19? Are there certain categories of people which will be preferred in the months and years ahead?
Definitely. You would have noticed that the BCPNP, there are entry-level jobs that they have not been nominating people for at the moment. And the focus has shifted to more healthcare-related workers. Truck drivers are still considered important. And I think agricultural workers, food processing, all those are going to be given priority. So in terms of immigration, the point system does not discriminate on occupation, right? If you have the points, you will immigrate. So in terms of the express entry, I don't see any change unless the government specifically says certain occupations will be given, let's say, extra points. I don't know. I'm speculating. Or certain occupation will not be included, but that will create another problem that existed 5-6 years ago. So my guess, based on my only 23 years experience, is the shift will be in terms of what work permits will be given priorities. You know, first they have to be genuine, and it'll be in the areas of healthcare work, and then in terms of agriculture, professionals, and all levels of agricultural workers. And then there will be food processing. The other shift that will come, I think, is in terms of the investor programs. The local investment is the BCPNP investment. The federal program has a startup visa program for people who have a brilliant idea but not too much money. That is also very interesting, especially if you have some healthcare-related invention or idea. Manufacturing will be definitely encouraged henceforth. And general anything to do with the agro industry, I think will get priority. And the BCPNP, if they want to bring in the right investors, there's no shortage of good people who want to come and invest and help the province of British Columbia prosper in terms of manufacturing, in terms of agriculture, in terms of I'm talking about genuine agriculture, not just buy a farm just for the purpose of immigration.
Right.
And then they're going to be probably more stringent, but it's all in all, I think it's a good thing for immigration practitioners, lawyers, and consultants, that the ones who know how to service their clients will see a lot of benefit, and the immigrants who are genuine, who want to come here, make British Columbia their home to investment or work, I think that will be good. So to tie it with your first question, whether there will be a reduction in the numbers, I don't think so. It's just a temporary constriction of the numbers, but I think all this they will catch up very fast, because once they get going, and I suspect that get going will be sometimes in January next year, then they will be processing faster. They'll probably reduce. Already there's less and less interviews. Then maybe there'll be more refusals. Based on, and for lawyers like me who do appeals, we also always see in difficult times. We always see refusals where people try to take the shortcut. They get refused. They'll be very careful in terms of fraud. They'll be very careful in terms of what is commonly known as, not commonly, it's known as misrepresentation, where people don't disclose the full history or full facts to immigration. So from my perspective as a lawyer, we see a lot of appeals. We see a lot of federal court applications. We see a lot of procedural fairness letters. Yeah. But generally, immigration will be... I don't think it will ever shut down. It will readjust to new realities.
Yeah. And also another question that we have from a listener, they say that this listener's mother came to Canada last year in September on a visitor's visa. They applied for an extension in the month of March, but they have not heard back as of yet. Providing flights may not resume normally in September, what should be their immediate action? If this 6-month period also lapses, what should they do further up?
Okay, so if they've applied for an extension, they haven't heard. So under our rules, as long as they haven't got a decision from the immigration office on that application, they are deemed to be in status, legal here as visitor. Okay.
Okay.
So when they hear, so they can stay until they hear from immigration. Okay. Now they shouldn't keep quiet. Let's say, come September, October, there's around that 6-7 month mark, they should put in an inquiry just to show their good faith, that they're not just trying to hide here in Canada. Oh, we haven't heard from immigration, so we'll continue staying, just to show their good faith. And if they hear from them, good. If they don't hear, then at least they have put it on paper that they are ready, willing, and able to deal with it, but they haven't heard. So they can stay. They are deemed to be legal.
Okay. Mr. Joomratty, sorry, that's all the time we have this morning. Quickly, what's the number for your office before I let you go?
604-599-0001. 604-599-0001. And if there is no flights going out, don't worry. You won't be kicked out.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. Take care, Vijay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.